Are you worried about making the wrong decision? Do you feel stuck moving forward? Do you know, if you feel like that, you're not alone. I think we've all felt like that at some point. So today's session is all about fear of making the wrong choices. And I'm your host, Debbie Clement-Large of Why Follow the Herd. And I'm joined by the absolutely lovely Laura Topper. So if you're afraid of making those wrong choices, you'll want to watch this because Laura's got some amazing stuff just for you. So Why Follow the Herd? I'm really pleased that you're here. Laura, my wonderful guest, Laura Topper. You'll find Laura at lauratopper.com. She is an amazing teacher that is really into new thinking, new thoughts, metaphysics, and just stepping into the best version of you. And you're certainly doing that, Laura.
Oh, Debbie, thank you. And it's great to be here again. I love being here on your powerful show and your message and your teachings and what you're sharing with humanity is so great. And it's brilliant to be here. Thank you, Debbie.
Oh, bless your heart. So fear. Fear. I can feel that.
Tackle this one.
So much of that in my life. So the last show we did, you just said the most sweetest words, and we knew we had to do another show. And I've got to read this out. You talked about not to be in fear that we're making the wrong choice. And you said, because we can change and experiment with our lives. And that was like nectar. Beautiful. So,
I love that.
Why do we get caught up in this fear of making wrong choices?
That's such a beautiful question of why we get caught up in this. I think there are many defining factors. Let's kind of go back to basics a little bit here. We are habitual creatures. Mm-hmm. And we run on habit and we create our own habits, and we find it difficult to move from one habit to another, to kind of transform our habits or to change them, because there's a part of us, there's a part of our brain, our mind, our physicality that wants to keep us safe and keep us in this kind of limitation, its own limitation of this pattern that we're in, whatever it is that we're doing. So when we get an idea to have to change that habit, whether it's beginning something or ending something, beginning an exercise program, reducing cigarette smoking, let's just take those two things, beginning a meditation practice, watching less on Netflix. Both of those things, both of those choices and decisions take an amount of our own determination to go beyond that limitation of the habit that we've been in, or that we've set ourselves up for. And that's what creates the fear, because it's like stepping into this new place. I mean, I've just given two examples there, and there are other examples. It could be moving country or moving home or ending a relationship or starting our own business, any of it, facing a conversation with somebody, forgiving, all of it. It's like we're being challenged continually, if you like, to step up and be that better version of ourselves. And it means coming away from the habits that we've created and lived in comfortably. Although there's that point where it's like, no more, I want to change this. I want to change my life. I want a different kind of experience here. And then those fears come up. Then those fears come up because we feel safe and cocooned in what it is we know, even if there's a big part of us that knows it's time to move through and move on. Yeah.
I like the patterns, and you're right, we're not like that when we're babies. We're not like that when we're toddlers. It's learned behavior. It's something that we've learned, and it's something that, because we keep doing it, becomes ingrained and becomes a natural thing and then we think that that's, you know, how things are. And actually that reminded me of a program I watched a bit last night on, it was to do with insomnia. Now that's not something I've ever suffered from, thankfully. I can sleep through most things, you know, including my baby when she was crying when she was little. My husband used to have to wake me up to feed her because I just used to sleep through it. Anyway, so but the whole thing was around people's brains not being able to slow down. It's almost like that, you know, we get caught up in so much in social media, and we're looking, and it's like the brain is becoming hardwired to be active, and it's finding it difficult to stop because it doesn't feel safe. And you talked about feeling safe, and I know that you can use your breath to help you feel safe too. Breathing out longer than breathing in tells your parasympathetic nervous system that it's safe to relax, to let go.
Yes. And many times, you know, our logical mind, because we're running on our conscious logical mind of what we think makes sense, and we run in the parameters of our logic, and we try and add it up. Or, well, if that, you know, it's like we will create situations because we will paint the picture, tell the story of how it will turn out, because we're using logic there. You know, you gave this amazing example last time, you know, leaving your work, leaving that career that you had crafted and created for so many years to go and do something completely different. And there must have been those messages that were going on in you, or maybe not, but I'm just kind of assuming that for many of us, there are these messages that will put a halt there, you know, stop, because it doesn't make sense in the logical mind to do it. And our job is to go past the logical and to really turn into that, you know, that mystical, if you like, that unseen consciousness that we know is running the show, consciousness itself, which is not loud. It is not always screaming at us, do this, do that. We have to tune in, and we have to be more aware of the connection that we can have with life itself, that's always telling us, always showing us, but we put the barriers there because we're scared to move through. And from my own experience, I can talk and say that when I've let go of my logical mind, or the logic within me that I think is logical, and embrace the possibilities, because we know in quantum physics, you know, there is infinite potential, and we choose the slice of cake that we choose in the way that we see it, and yet there's the rest of the cake. There's the rest of the cake that it's like going into unknown territory.
Yeah, I think sometimes we don't even choose a slice, we're going after crumbs.
You're so right, that have fallen on the floor. It's like we're scavenging around because they're safe.
We daren't think we can have the whole cake. We just think we can have a smidge. Yeah.
Yes. And there's so much, and yet we become, and I think COVID has done this as well to a big degree, because we've become insular. You know, we're now internalizing inside, and, you know, this fear we've had to mingle, to mix, to expand, can't travel in the same way. It's like now we're being given another set of rules and dictates of how we live our lives. So it sometimes feels easier to befriend the fear rather than befriend the illogical, the mystical, the potential, the full potential of what we actually are here to experience, dare we?
Yeah, and I love that, because like you said, there is that place within us, that small little feeling and sort of gut feeling, intuition, whatever you want to call it, which will help you to decide what feels right. But there is so much noise, and the fear is so much louder, you don't hear it. And I'd even add to that, what you said was other people's fear. of you making choices. You talked about me when I was leaving my work and changing career, but it wasn't just my own fear I had to work on, but it's other people's too. My old boss, former boss, told me I was nuts. I had other people telling me what are you doing that for? You must be nuts doing that. You know, I resigned from the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, and the person on the phone said, really? Are you sure? You're just about to give all that up? And I went, yes. I don't want to do it anymore. So not only is it our own fear, sometimes it's other people's fear. They think we've lost our marbles.
Absolutely. And what's happening there, as what I believe, is that as we expand in our understanding of our lives and we dare to take those steps, which are, you know, off the logical chart and into that intuition, and it doesn't make sense in my mind, and yet I'm just gonna do it. As we step into that, we'll kind of loosen the ties with others. We unalign with those that, you know, that don't agree or don't believe, and they will challenge us because we're asking for that challenge. In a way, we're asking to be clear and certain. So those challenges are really a confirmation that we can stand up in our power and say, yeah, I am giving it up. Yes, I do intend within 6 months to have moved away from this and into something else, and bridged it over in my way. Yes, I am making these changes, and the people that challenge us will then be invited, in a way, subconsciously, to challenge themselves with their own lives.
Ooh,
so we're kind of opening up that door to that person to say, well, you know, join me.
That's
you
a very
too.
good way. Yeah.
Yes, you too can take charge and live this way and come out of the hamster wheel that you're on, and experiment with your life. Because if it doesn't work, why do we get this idea in our mind that if something doesn't work, that's it? Oh my God, the world is falling apart. There are other choices that we will make. This is a stepping stone. We're on a series of stepping stones. We're stepping over them, onto them, next one. And they're all teaching us how we can expand and be better versions of ourselves.
I like that. And actually, I like the fact, instead of thinking that when we make a choice, it affects other people, I immediately, as you were talking then, had an image of being in a cage and opening the door to my cage and stepping out, and other people are saying, hang on a minute, you can't get out, because somehow it rattles their cage.
Yes.
Because they're like, well, actually, there is all this order and all these cages are lined up in this particular way. Now you're getting out, you're disrupting the order that is
quo.
There. Yeah. And that means I've now got to question myself. Am I right to stay in this cage, just like you said? Or do I reach for the door and open it and get out myself? And that faces their fears, because they then are looking at it rather than just feeling comfortable with what is, just a bit like you said.
That's right. That's right. And we're responsible for ourselves. And we, you know, as teachers and guides and visionaries, we set the example by, you know, it's like Jason was doing this work a couple of years ago with a coach, and I really like this, what she set for him, to create his standards of integrity, and based upon his values. And we know we set values for our lives. It was just that term, you know, your standard of integrity. What actually do you stand for? And he did that work, and he still continues with that work and puts it into action and practice in his life, because it creates a foundation for him and the decisions and choices that he makes. And whether, when something comes up, well, does that align with me and my integrity and my set of values that I believe in? And I think this is really powerful when it comes to fear, because we can be fearful of an opportunity that comes, or an idea, or an insight, or a complete new way of being. It can be like, oh my gosh, you know. And I think if we have our values in place, that we can look at that so-called opportunity for transformation, align it with our own personal values, rather than with whether it's going to fit in with the status quo of, you know, the relationships that we have, or, you know, the work that we're in already, or whatever. Believing in the integrity, standards of integrity, and the values that we have, aligning that experience with it, and almost you can then logically kind of tick it off. Does this align with me? Yes, 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 yes. Well then, you know, face that fear and do it anyway, because there's always going to be fear, isn't there, Debbie?
Oh yeah, yeah. And I think I like what you say then about the values, and then I think it for me, the word that came up as you were saying that was honesty, and being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And even though it can be scary,
yeah,
it's a bit like when a client comes and wants to say, I want to explore coaching, and I suddenly get a feeling, actually, I'm not the right coach, or you're not in the right place, and it would be easy just to say, oh yeah, of course I'll work with you. And it's harder to stick to your values and say, do you know what, I can refer you on. I think you work better with somebody else, or maybe you're not ready, come back in a few months' time and we'll explore then. And sometimes saying no to something can be really scary. And sometimes saying yes to something can be really scary. And sometimes just sitting in that not knowingness and waiting to be clear can feel scary. So we can have fear from all those different angles, but it like just right when you came right back at the beginning, when you said, listen to that small voice, and you get that little gut feeling. And when you're not sure, sometimes just wait until you get a sense of the next step. And that can be hard, but actually that takes a lot of the fear out of it.
Yes, I love that, what you're saying, because it's not about making a rash decision, is it?
No.
It's about sitting with it and being with it. And you know, I know you practice and teach this amazing visionary process, positive imaging process. And personally, for me, and I've used this with people that I've worked with, is to positive image or visualize how it could be in that new situation, and how it is still now, and how it could be in another situation, and kind of give yourself this amazing array, this buffet of different positive imagery processes that you go through, and then feel which one feels right, feel which one feels, because I think the feeling is, you know, it's coming away from the head and the logic and into the heart, and following our heart. You know, your business is called follow the herd. And follow the heart. Don't, why follow the herd? I'm like, well, follow the heart, follow our hearts, because our heart is always going to guide us and tell us. There's a lot of information there. And as we come away from the head and the logic and come into our heart space, we can open up into what really feels good, and then we're living our true, authentic lives.
Yeah it is. It's finding those little bits and little crumbs of courage, baby step by baby step.
Yes,
like you said, you don't have to do it all at once. You know, I didn't move from one career to another all at once. For a while I did the two in tandem. I renegotiated my hours down corporately. I set up my business anyway. And it was just taking a little bit and getting more courage and readjusting myself, so that by the day I left, I'd quite, you talking about imaging in your mind, I had this image of the day I left with me outside the building doing this big jump up in the air, going, woohoo, with my legs up, woo, you know, doing a big jump up. And I just saw this. And I'd been so fearful about leaving and making a decision to leave. I'd been there a long time. And the day I left, I actually did that big jump in the air, and I got somebody to take a picture of it. And I left with no fear. It had just gone, and I did this big woo up in the air. And I thought, right now, it went from a place in my mind seeing it to a real photograph. And I brought that into being, and I'd never have experienced any fear of having made the wrong decision since I've left. I know I've made the right decision, but it's
I love that.
Yeah, it's just sitting and knowing where your fear points are and just acknowledging it.
That's another thing. That's another thing. It's like, we can have a conversation with fear, because if fear is there, it's for a reason. It wants to guide us. It wants to show us. It's not up to us to kind of block it out and kind of try and get rid of it. We want to converse with it. We want to understand why are you here? What are you trying to tell me? So what is it that you're showing me that I'm in fear of, I'm scared of in this moment? And from there, we have then information that we can use and we can work on in our spiritual practice, in our daily practice. We can work on that and use affirmations and use meditation and use visualization, positive imaging, to really change that for us. And then we will start drawing in the people, places, and situations that will support our vision. Yeah. Because we lift to it, we start believing it rather than the fear. And that's the work. And I think what you did was amazing, because you crossed over, you gave yourself that bridge to come from one to another at a time where you couldn't believe it in your logical mind. So you knew that you needed to do this work to believe. Believe, and that was your bridge, the believing bridge. And then once you crossed that bridge, it was like, yeah, I can do this, I have no fear. And you did it in a very gentle, powerful way, without being you did it in a kind way for yourself. And I think that's the other thing, is that this is all about being kind to ourselves. It's a process. It's not like we have to have it all sorted out right now. It is sorted out right now. All the information is here within us.
Yeah. And it's being gentle, being kind, being loving, knowing that there's no wrong choice. There is just choice, and you can choose again. And when I look back, if I had chosen to stay where I was, I can feel that actually I would have missed an opportunity to meet you. I would have missed an opportunity to learn so much of the stuff that I've learned. And, maybe there will be other choices and other things to do. I don't know, but I'm actually it's okay. And it's making a choice and making that choice okay. And being at peace with that choice.
Yes.
And not letting that fear rule you. Because
absolutely,
my fear was one day reaching the end of my life and looking back and thinking, I wonder what would happen if I had done that. And I didn't want that. I thought, if it doesn't work, that's fine. I can go back and do something else, but I've got to give it a go.
Yes.
If I don't, I will look back and I'll regret it.
Yes. And it's there was something I was really feeling as you were saying all of this, that it is a journey. It's not about the destination, and it is a learning moment by moment to be self-aware.
Yeah. To
kind of self-actualize in the moment and be aware of what we're thinking and what we're feeling. And when fear comes up, which it will, because it does, because it's here, we get an opportunity to address it in the moment, rather than, as you've just said, live your life in fear of fear. Actually be bold and say, right, okay, here I am, take me, come forward and show me. And there will be amazing messages in there. to guide us through, to help us through. And that's where we often need to have a mentor or a group, or a coach, or somebody outside of us that can see it when we can't believe it for ourselves. Because that person then says, right, I've been there, I've done it, I understand it, and I will show you. And often we can't see it. We can't see it for ourselves.
Yeah.
I have those. I have guides, I have coaches, I have spiritual mentors, prayer partners. It's important to have that that network of people around us that do believe in us, that do support us, that do stand up for us when we feel, oh, I can't do this anymore. What's the point? We need to have those people around us to say, come on, there is a point to this. You're doing it. And if we're not surrounding ourselves with those people, then think again with who we're hanging out with. Yeah.
I love that. That is a wonderful way to end. Not only treating yourself, looking after and being kind, but surrounding yourself with people who are kind to you too. And that you can be kind to them. And with all that, you're just creating wonderful ripples of hope and possibility.
Yeah.
And letting the fear settle down and become just like sediment at the bottom of a jar. And you may be even filtering it right out and just letting it go completely, but you're not living in it moment to moment. Thank you, Laura. That is beautiful. Thank you for sharing your wonderful wisdom.
Oh, thank you, Debbie. It's been great being here again and sharing and being with you and connecting. And I love it. I love everything you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us. It is wonderful that you are here. I hope that you can release some of the fear you've had around making choices, knowing that there is no wrong thing that you can do. There is only ever choice, and we always have the ability to choose again. Wonderful words of Laura. So please remember to please like, please share. I want to hear in the comments below what's going on for you, what fear is holding you trapped, what you'd like to let go of and what you'd like to make a difference of. And remember to subscribe, because there are loads of videos that will help you to make a wonderful journey and to transform it in any way that you'd like. So have the most amazing day, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.